is consulting nationwide now. It's really wild to say that. But I want to go back to what you asked me. You asked me about begin within and like sort of what that means. One thing I think people find different about my workshop and webinar series, whether in person or online, is that maybe it checks all the boxes, but not in the way that people are used to. So my approach is not professional development, it's personal development. And so I really want to help people look at themselves, the decisions they make, how they were brought up, why they feel the way they feel. Let's talk about those things. Let's talk about your own bias. Let's talk about racism. Let's talk about ageism. Let's talk about all the ageisms, or all the isms, I should say, but with a you approach instead of they or we. I'm talking about you. Right. And I think that's the big difference, because I can't teach diversity, equity, and inclusion. I can't teach that, right? You learn from it. And so part of that learning from it is really learning about ourselves.
Yeah, you know, and you've the first, I mean, and after that first one that when we actually officially sort of met in person, you know, I was sort of the moderator for the workshop that you did online. So I've sat in on a number of them, and you know, yeah, you've gotten better. You've tightened up some things, but your openness and what I noticed right away was your you did your best to make it a safe space for people to sort of speak and talk about things that may be difficult, right? And very difficult conversations to have. Like you said, you're asking people how they feel specifically. Yes. And I mean, I don't remember a lot of the webinars, but I remember that first one at the chamber, and we had some cringe-worthy moments just with some people, but it was like, yes, okay, it's a safe space. And you have continued to sort of lead with that approach and make sure that people, like, you know, you hold up a mirror and have people look, you know, within themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's where it starts, right? Yeah, cringe for sure. Because I think in those early days too, I was really learning, and I have to tell you that there was immense pressure in being an expert. So one thing I say now that I've been saying for several years is that, and this really comes from my heart, is that I'm not an expert in DEI. I'm not, okay? I don't think anybody who's doing this work seriously can be. I am really only an expert at being myself, right? My experience as a Black woman in this body, okay? That's what I'm an expert at. That's what I'm an expert at. Even I have to do a lot of intentional learning about other communities, other groups, history. I'm learning all the time. The difference between me and maybe what some other people would call experts is that I understand my limitations and I push those limitations. And so because of that, again, I don't think there is this height that you reach where you say, finally, I'm an expert, I know it all. I know myself very well though. And that allows me to really share in an authentic way with people that I think resonates with them. And they don't always get that in professional development, especially around what we're talking about.
That's right. That's right. And I appreciate you saying that. And I remember, so yes, you are a Black woman. You have a perspective that you can share, but one of your passions. Okay, let's just okay. The elephant in the room is there's a number of people that are these DE&I experts, or these they have these different roles. And a lot of them are Black women, right? And it's like, oh, you're Black, go ahead and do this. And it's so much more than that. And you always really, even before it was popular per se, you were already teaching these workshops, leading these workshops, and with the passion before it became everyone's sort of initiatives on their, annual sort of planning and strategic planning, right? So kudos to you for that. But and you've continued to learn and challenge yourself, and you've always been very like humble about sort of what you may know or may not know. But your passion really is around the senior community.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And people wouldn't think that. People would think you're going to come from a certain perspective, and you're like, this is where my heart is. Talk about your experience in the senior community and why that group means so much to you.
I think for several reasons. First, like a lot of people don't know that before I started my business, I worked in the senior housing industry. I was a corporate communications manager when I left, but before that, I worked in a community as an activities director. Okay, I was driving the bus, baby. All right, so I was in it. And I really fell in love with that industry. I've always, even as a younger person, even as a kid, like I've always had immense love and respect for older people. And I think that my love for really compassion for older people, but also compassion for communities of color, right? Passion for social justice, passion for social awareness and change. Those things coupled together, who knew that I was going to be able to do those two things? So one thing that really bothered me about the senior housing industry was how it's not very diverse. You know, on the surface, it looks diverse. And so a lot of people in the industry for a very long time could really say, yes, we are so diverse. Look, we have so many women, right? We have so many people of color working in this industry. Okay, we're not going to talk about the resident population because find them. Okay, find them. Take a magnifying glass and find them. Okay, but I knew that that was an issue for me, and I could not talk about all of these discrepancies, all these inequities in the workplace while I was in the workplace. And when I tell you I saw them and I experienced them, right? So yeah, there's a ton of women who work in the senior living industry, but there's not a ton of women in top leadership positions, even though women are usually the caregivers. I'm sure there are a lot of people of color who work in the senior housing industry. Go and find them. Guess where I'm going to tell you most of them are? They are in dietary, they are in housekeeping, okay? They are in these hourly low wage positions. You will not see more and more you are seeing, but definitely then you were not seeing a lot of people of color in these higher positions. And I'm talking about definitely C-suite. Go and find them. I would love
That's
to
right.
see it.